Massachusetts has officially ended its emergency response to the migrant crisis, marking a significant turning point for the state after months of intense debate and public concern. On August 5, 2025, Governor Maura Healey announced the termination of the executive order that had defined the state's approach to the crisis, signaling the end of a policy that shaped daily life for thousands of families and challenged state resources. All remaining hotel shelters, which had once served as a vital lifeline for thousands of people in need, are now closing their doors, leaving many families to seek new solutions and uncertain futures. The emergency shelter program was on track to cost taxpayers $1 billion this year alone, putting immense pressure on the state budget and sparking urgent calls for reform from lawmakers, advocates, and residents alike. At its peak, the system provided temporary housing for over 4,000 families, many of them recent arrivals to Massachusetts, across a sprawling network of shelters and hotels, highlighting both the scale of the crisis and the state's efforts to respond. The governor's decision now signals a shift away from emergency measures toward a more sustainable, structured approach, introducing new rules and limitations designed to balance compassion with fiscal responsibility and long-term planning. The full impact on families who relied on the system is only beginning to unfold, as communities, service providers, and policymakers grapple with the next steps and the ongoing needs of those affected. At the heart of the current crisis is Massachusetts' groundbreaking 1983 Right to Shelter law, a piece of legislation that has set the state apart for decades. This law makes Massachusetts the only state in the nation legally required to provide emergency shelter to homeless families with children and pregnant women, regardless of the circumstances. What began as a progressive safety net for the state's most vulnerable residents has, over time, become a beacon for migrant families from across the country, as news of the guarantee spread far and wide. The resulting influx of families in need has overwhelmed the emergency assistance system, pushing it far beyond what lawmakers originally envisioned or prepared for. With little to no federal support to help shoulder the burden, Massachusetts has been forced to rely on hotels and motels as makeshift shelters, a move that has dramatically increased costs for the state. The law's intersection with complex federal immigration issues has forced state leaders to confront a difficult reality. How much can one state realistically do on its own, especially when national solutions are lacking? The financial strain has begun to threaten other essential services, such as education, healthcare, and public safety, igniting heated debate over whether the law can or should continue in its current form. This mounting tension and public concern have led directly to a wave of recent legislative reforms as officials search for a sustainable path forward. Now, Massachusetts stands at a crossroads, facing tough questions about the limits of its promise and the future of its unique mandate. The costs of Massachusetts' migrant shelter program were truly staggering, capturing the attention of both policymakers and the public. In just 1 year, the program was projected to cost nearly $1 billion, a figure that sent shockwaves through the state's budget discussions and raised urgent questions about sustainability. On average, sheltering a single family cost $3,496 per week. This covered not only a place to stay but also daily meals, access to education for children, case management, and crucial legal aid for navigating complex immigration processes. School districts across Massachusetts quickly absorbed new students, adapting classrooms and resources, while legal services worked tirelessly to help families understand their rights and pursue asylum or other legal pathways. The state's comprehensive approach aimed to not just provide shelter, but to help families integrate and build new lives. However, the sheer scale of the effort soon became overwhelming and unsustainable. With over 4,000 families in need, the state was spending tens of millions of dollars every week. Relying on hotels, which were far more expensive than traditional shelters, only added to the financial strain. Each family required not just a roof over their heads but also food, medical care, and ongoing support, creating a massive logistical and financial challenge for state agencies and local partners. Ultimately, as expenses continued to balloon, state leaders were forced to confront the reality that the current approach could not continue indefinitely. The program's ambitious goals collided head-on with fiscal reality, prompting urgent calls for a new, more sustainable path forward. In response, lawmakers amended the Right to Shelter law to control costs and system growth. The most significant change, a 6-month limit on emergency shelter stays. New rules require proof of Massachusetts residency and proper immigration paperwork, with some humanitarian exceptions. These reforms mark a major shift from the law's original open-ended promise. Supporters say the changes are necessary to protect the system and encourage self-sufficiency. Critics worry vulnerable families may be left without a safety net. The effects of these new rules are still unfolding. The end of the emergency program has sparked fierce political debate. Critics, especially Republicans like former Housing Secretary Mike Keneally, accuse Governor Healey of mismanagement and ignoring early warnings. Healey's team counters that they inherited a broken system and took decisive action with new reforms. Both sides blame each other for the crisis's scale and cost. With hotel shelters closing and new limits in place, thousands of families must now find new housing. Community organizations and rental assistance programs face mounting pressure. The states challenge balancing humanitarian needs with fiscal responsibility amid ongoing national immigration debates. The future for these families, and the state, remains uncertain.